Hi everyone, and in today's video we'll be covering the topic the caste system as a discriminatory system of your class 12 chapter 5 patterns of social inequality and exclusion. The basic idea of this topic is that even though modern India has changed a lot due to development, democracy and social movements, but still caste play a big role in determining a person's economic status and opportunities. The caste system is a distinct Indian social institution that legitimizes and enforces practices of discrimination against people born into a particular caste. The practices of discrimination are humiliating, exclusionary, and exploitative. These are the three main terms you need to remember and you need to mention in your exam as well. So this caste system, it is a very different Indian social institution, okay? And it is actually somewhere or the other enforcing the practices of discrimination, and these actual behaviors are being legitimized because this particular person is born into a particular caste, and the practices of this discrimination is humiliating, exclusionary and exploitative. Now historically the caste system classified people by their occupational status. That means if you are doing this occupation, you will have this caste and this will be your status in the there was no particular hierarchy at that time, but yeah, your status was also given. So the caste was associated with the occupation. Means if a person was born into this particular caste, okay, they had no choice but to follow that occupation. Means if he is born into the caste, okay, if he was born into a particular caste, he was also born into the occupation. So it was hereditary. They had no choice. They could not change their occupation. If they are born into the family of priest, the person will become priest. They had no choice to change the occupation. And most importantly, each caste had a specific place in the hierarchy of social status. So there was a hierarchy of social status, means there was a ladder-like system wherein the top would represent the power, and at the low part you will see that they had low status. Okay, not only were occupational categories were ranked by social status, but there could be a further ranking within the occupational category. So example, the ritually highest caste, which is the Brahmins, were not supposed to amass wealth and were subordinated to the secular power of kings and rulers belonging to the Kshatriya castes. Despite having the highest secular status, they were subordinated. And you have to compare this with apartheid system. So basically, although it is now easier to change your job than if we compare it with 100 years ago, but even now there are poor people are found in all the castes, and there are upper castes which are still more privileged. Oppression is now more economic and social. It is not just by traditional caste rules, I would say. And most privileged people, they still belong to upper castes, and the most disadvantaged groups are from the lower or oppressed caste like Dalits or Adivasis. And even if caste restrictions are weaker now, this deep link between caste and class, it still remains. So this I have explained you, and also there is one more thing, that most of the people who are still poor or uneducated and underemployed in India, they belong to the lower caste. They continue to face discrimination even if it is less visible or direct than in the past. The Indian Constitution, reservations and reform movements, they have helped change the society, but the change is uneven and many people still struggle. So caste system, although it has weakened, but its effects remain through class inequality. It may not decide your job anymore, but it still affects your chances of getting one. A question that might come is, how is caste still linked to class in modern India? What you need to write. Although caste restrictions have weakened in modern India, the link between caste and class remains strong. Most privileged and wealthy groups still belong to the upper caste, while disadvantaged sections like Dalits and Adivasis dominate the poor population. Thus, while the system has changed, caste-based economic and social inequalities continue. This is what it is written here as well, mentioned here. We have talked about the caste-class correlation as well. So this was all for this video. In the next video, we'll be covering the topic untouchability. See you in the next video. Thank you.